everybody, it's Anna. So today is the fourth Sunday of Advent, and the theme for today is love. So if you've been following along, you know that I've been going through the themes of Advent and connecting them to the first four steps of the major arcana. So the fourth Sunday of Advent is love, and the fourth step in the major arcana is the Emperor. And I connect the Emperor with good father energy, which is nurturing masculinity. The number four is the stability. It's where you create your stability. It's where you create your foundation. So at this point in our spiritual journey, we have to create a foundation on which we are going to build. So if you don't create a good foundation right here, if you don't do a good job here, then everything you build from here on out becomes unstable. And the foundation is based on our development of and understanding of nurturing masculinity. The challenge with this, there's a couple of challenges with nurturing masculinity. One is that it's really quiet. So it's easy to underestimate how important this is, okay? But secondly, we tend to, at least in the culture I'm in, we tend to see more evidence of toxic masculinity or hero masculinity, which is an immature version of masculinity, right? It's like a kid it's posturing at being a masculine. It's like, oh, I'm big and tough and I'm going to beat you up. And that's a posturing, a hero posturing. But nurturing masculinity is of the warrior paradigm, which is the mature masculinity. So part of the challenge is we have to mature the hero into the warrior within ourselves in order to make this happen. And we have a culture, I live in a culture where that path is not easily observable a lot of the time. So, but it's not work. You don't have it because every time you build something, it falls apart. So something's missing here. So the Emperor is right there before you move into the challenge of the Hierophant. The Hierophant's the fifth card and the fifth step. And that is where you move into the physical, into the marketplace, into the larger world, the public world. Before you do that, you have to do this piece or you won't be prepared. And the problem we have also is we live in a world that's very obsessed with jobs and making money and being, making a difference in the world, which is the fifth step. You can't do that step until you learn how to do the fourth step. And so a lot of my clients are trying to jump into but how am I going to make a business? How am I going to? So we're treating ourselves like commodities. We don't want to do that. Before you treat yourself like a commodity, you treat yourself like the beloved. And that's the work of the good father. The work of the good father is to create a safe space in which we are protected and loved and provided for. A place where we're not expected to do anything helpful or contribute. We're just expected to grow and play and be ourselves and grow in being ourselves. That's good father energy. We have to give that to ourselves before we move into the world to offer that to the world as our gift. So if you look at the Christmas story, it's very easy to me to identify the father energy, the good father, and that is Joseph. Joseph, who is critically important to the story and gets almost completely ignored. In fact, my husband today preached on Mary for the second time, and he didn't talk about Joseph at all. Well, he did a little bit. But Joseph is critically important. Without Joseph, the whole story falls apart, even at the very beginning, because when Joseph and Mary are betrothed, she finds out she's pregnant. He knows it's not his. So he has to decide what he's going to do. Now, if he is in hero energy, that means he's insecure. His ego is not very developed. His ego is sort of in reaction. It would be very easy for Joseph to be offended and get very vocal in public. He could at least just set her aside and say, I'm not going to marry this woman. Or he could actually shame her publicly and actually potentially endanger her life. That's a way this could have worked out. But he's not in hero energy. He's in warrior energy. And he decides to put himself between Mary and the world. He's going to create a hedge, a space, a protective barrier around her. She's going to be under his care. That is the role of the good father. I will make sure you are safe, right? So that the child is free to grow. And so we need a part of ourselves to do that for us. That's what self-care is. And the reason we struggle so much with not having good boundaries and not doing good self-care is because we're not doing it from that nurturing masculine perspective. We're usually trying to do it from the feminine. Because when you're intuitive, the intuition is feminine, right? And if you are an innovator, then you're very familiar with intuitive movement. and you're not as familiar with the masculine movement, the mind's movement, and so we ask the intuition to do things it's really not equipped to do. The intuition is not equipped to take care of us. It's only equipped to create stuff and do new things. The equipping and taking care of us is in the mind. So that's why we have to create this partnership between Mary and Joseph. They have to be together. Mary can't do it by herself. She's actually very, very vulnerable by herself. And that's how we are too. If we don't have that nurturing masculine developed within us, we are very, very vulnerable in the world. And we get, at the very least, we get exhausted. At the worst, we could actually get bad things happen to. We can feel like we're getting assaulted by energy or treated badly, or, bad things can happen without that masculine in place. So Clint mentioned this morning the idea of Mary. He talked about Mary, as I said, and he was talking about her agreeing to carry the Christ child, and he was saying, why was she picked? Why was she picked? She's just an average little girl, probably 13 or 14. So he was talking about the ordinary, right? That the ordinary is who was called to carry the Christ child. Well, I would say all of us are here. All of us are here to birth the divine on the planet. That's our purpose for being here. We are a piece of the divine being brought into the physical form to bring more divinity into physical form. That means if you call it the Christ or whatever you want to call it, we are here to birth the divine on the planet. So part of the challenge, the first 3 steps of the major arcana, is getting that energy into the physical world, right? So now we've got this new thing in the physical world. But if you don't know you did it, if you don't know this is sacred and precious, and you don't protect it properly and care for it properly, it doesn't survive. That's why this emperor energy is so important. He doesn't protect this child because it's a commodity to be used in the world. He protects the child because it is beloved. His whole life, his whole purpose, everything he does is about making this safe space to serving the needs of the child, and also the needs of the mother, who's the feminine, right? So the challenge we have is that my clients' challenge, and mine too, is we want to go straight into the marketplace with the Hierophant. So we've got these 2 masculine energies back to back in the major arcana. We've got the Emperor at the 4 point, the Hierophant at the 5th point. And one is the nurturing masculine and one is the assertive masculine. The assertive masculine is going to bring us into the world, set up our webpage, get our shop going, like bring our gifts to the world in a way that's structured and clear. But if you skip the Emperor, you're just treating yourself like a commodity, right? You're like, well, I'm only worth what I can bring, what I earn, whatever this system in the public sphere is, that becomes your only system. And now you've skipped the part where you learn to love yourself just for being. The good father has no agenda beyond keeping the children safe and happy. And so they're free to move into the world in the way they're meant to move into the world. He's not making an investment in them so he gets something back. This is who he is. This is what he's supposed to be doing. And he gets his meaningfulness in doing this. So when we start developing that partnership in a deliberate way between the feminine and the masculine, something really magical happens. It's already pretty magical when we're birthing new things and new ideas, and these things are kind of generating into the physical plane. But when you get the masculine in place, and you've got 2 masculines in a row, right? But you got to start with the Emperor. When you get the masculine in place, and that's the masculine who is deeply loving and nurturing, there is a power and a stability to that masculine, which makes everything better, which makes everything more stable. Because, and the truth is, like, we will venture into the world, right? We'll venture into the world. And there are times where, you need to go back to your father's house. Like, we need to have a place where we can hide again. We can be nurtured again. We can be protected. And we can be loved, not for what we're creating in the world, but just because we are. So we have to be able to dive back into the 4 point when we need it. And that's also, I think, the key of the Emperor energy is he is always monitoring us. He's watching to make sure we have enough food, enough sleep. What else he's watching all the time for caretaking purposes. And we'll do his due diligence. If he thinks we're, working too hard or we're engaging with someone who's not the best, that masculine mind will step up and say, that's probably not right for you. And will kind of challenge us not to serving others, because he doesn't want he doesn't want to turn us into a commodity. He doesn't care what they want. All he cares about is us. Is this the well-being of the feminine and her progeny, right? So he has no loyalty to the world. His full loyalty is focused on this household that he is protecting and creating. And we all need that within ourselves, that part of ourselves which is deeply in love with us, which only cares about our well-being to help rescue us when we need it from being overly pushed and pulled and drained by the world. And once you get that balance right, now you have something that's sustainable in the long term. So that is the foundation we are working on for the fourth Sunday of Advent. I hope that's helpful to you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.